These are the best leather cases for iPhone 17 and iPhone Air. Every year, I've reviewed the top cases from brands like Bullstrap, Nomad, Ryan London, Andar, and this year I'm putting all their new models to the test. How is the feel, the buttons, open bottom or not? How do they handle the new camera plateau? And some of my favorite brands from last year, they've made some unfortunate choices. We'll also take a look at how my old case is patinaed, and I know what you're thinking, can I remain unbiased in my leather case review even though one literally has my face on it? Well, not on the case, but I do have a hunter green leather case from Andar. It's my custom colorway, but that's not going to get in the way of my review of my favorite cases. So these are all the brands I'm going to talk about today. There are some others out there. I might try them in the future, but I've tried their past cases and the current ones look about the same. So I'll share more about those thoughts when we get there. First up, how did my leather cases from the 16 Pro Max patina? Now this is my hunter green for the 16 Pro Max, so it doesn't have as many months of patina as the next one, but this at least gives you an idea of what might happen in a few months after using it every day. Now the leather case I used the most with the 16 Pro Max was the Ryan London, and you can see it had some scratches, had some markups, but I honestly like the way this looked. Ryan London has been some of my favorite leather for years, and even the scuffs and marks I think give it some character. And it did take some tumbles and falls, but the phone was never damaged. But for the 17 series, let's start with the Bullstrap. Now keep in mind, every case I'm talking about is real bovine leather. None of these are vegan leather or alternatives. Now Bullstrap went with a unique design here. Not only is the camera mesa fully leather wrapped, no metal ring around it, but they actually added leather between the cameras and the flash and LiDAR sensor. There is a Bull logo on the back, so there is some branding. Camera sapphire button here, sleep button, and we have the action and volume buttons. Now Bullstrap has two models. This is the minimalist case with an open bottom. The leather does come in various shades, none like my hunter green. I typically like going for the brownish colors. And if you don't like the open bottom, they actually have a new contemporary case. This one is a closed bottom, not as many color options, but both of these are $100. Bullstrap cases do come with a lifetime warranty. And just so you know, all of these leather cases are MagSafe compatible. They have the metal rings inside. Now I did go with the silver 17 Pro Max. I wasn't crazy about the orange, and the deep blue, So let's see how the silver looks in all these leather cases. Now this little leather piece between the cameras and the flash might be divisive. Let me know in the comments if you prefer this look, or if you like the full open camera mesa like most of the other cases have. But the Bullstrap feels really good in the hand. It is going to add some thickness like a lot of these cases. This is not a thin leather case. And the buttons are fairly clicky. They feel a little shallow, but camera button works well. You can open the camera quickly there. Overall, it's a solid case. We'll see where it ranks in the top 3 at the end. And you can see there's a little bit of lip over the screen for drop protection. And if you do use that USB-C port a lot and you want unobstructed access to it, the Bullstrap with open bottom is a great option. And I do perform a scientific sniff test with every case. Bullstrap leather, great leather smell. All right, let's talk about the winning leather case for several years in a row. This is the Ryan London 17 Pro Max case. Nice metal buttons, sapphire camera button as well, action and volumes, and you'll see we have the full camera ring going around the entire plateau. This one is a closed bottom case, and Ryan London has typically come out with open bottom cases if you prefer that, but right now all that's available is the closed bottom. The Ryan London comes in a few colors. It's $77, and it's pretty minimal branding, but there's a little Ryan London logo on the volume button side of the case. Putting in the 17 Pro Max, as usual, the Ryan London case feels great in the hand. You have that big camera mesa now, metal ring around it. Now some case makers, this metal ring, if you drop it or it gets chipped, it'll show some shiny silver underneath. I wasn't sure if I was going to do this, but let's test it out. Now it does appear if you were to drop it and this camera ring gets damaged, you are going to start seeing a little bit of silver come through. I mean, it does seem like it's a black coating, but I think you're going to get this issue with a lot of the cases that have a black camera ring. Ryan London buttons have a nice clickiness, I think better clickiness than the Bullstrap. And here's a close-up of that Ryan London leather texture. Now some brands like the Bullstrap offer full leather wrap cases, especially around the camera ring, so it's up to your preference, whether you like the ring or the leather wrap. Now, if you went iPhone Air this year, Ryan London also makes great leather cases for the iPhone Air. To be honest, I said in my iPhone Air review, which I'll link above, I don't know if I would use a case with the iPhone Air just because you kind of lose some of that svelte factor from the Air model. But if you wanted a leather case, Ryan London makes a good one. The camera ring is actually pretty deep because the camera plateau, the lens sticks out even farther than the plateau itself. I mean, remember, the entire phone is basically up here. So you do get a little bit of like a minion look with the iPhone Air in a case and having that big camera ring. And this one also is an open bottom from Ryan London, probably so you have better access to that USB-C port. Now, something I've noticed, it is harder to get cases off the 17 Pro and Pro Max. I have the Pro Max specifically. And I actually think part of that is because of the unibody construction of the new Pros. So sometimes it takes a good amount of pressure to get it off. Next, let's talk about one of the crowd favorites. This is the leather case from Nomad. Nomad makes great cases and other accessories, and their leather case is no exception. Metal buttons on the side, and the action button actually has a little texture on it up there, as does the sleep button. It's kind of ridged here on the side. So if you like a little texture on your button and lots of clickiness, Nomad's definitely had that nice clickiness. Now, Nomad has a couple different leather case options. This is the traditional leather case where the sides are leather wrapped. There's a modern leather case where the sides are plasticky. I've tried that one in the past and I do not prefer it. Some people like the plasticky sides. It's a little harder. Maybe you like feeling that instead of leather on the sides, but I would prefer leather. And this specifically is the Horween leather from Nomad. So again, textured sleep button and action button. Nice clickiness with the buttons. I think not as much travel as the Ryan London. A little closer to the Bullstrap feel. Closed bottom, but that USB-C port opening is plenty big, but you should be good with most other cables. Has that black metal camera ring around the camera plateau like the Ryan London. Sapphire camera button here. Little close-up of that Nomad leather grain texture. And frankly, I do like this style of the Nomad case as opposed to the modern leather one. So if you like that leather wrap sides, I would definitely go traditional leather case when it comes to Nomad. And if you were wondering, there's a little Nomad branding here on the same side as the volume buttons. Again, the Nomad one, you can have the consistent finish or the Horween leather. I went with the Horween, and that one is $85. The consistent finish is $65. Now, let's talk about a case that has fallen from grace. The Keyway leather case was one of my favorites from the past couple of years. This is their iPhone 16 Pro Max case. I actually liked the little X logo here on the bottom. Nice clicky buttons, had the metal camera ring. There was a camera cutout on this model, but at that point I wasn't using camera control very much. But I liked this design and the leather felt good. But I'm not sure what happened this year. This is the Keyway leather case and they went full on plastic. Plastic on the sides, plastic camera ring. Still has the nice little X, but the leather doesn't even feel like real leather anymore. And it's really unfortunate. I really like their older cases. The sides do have a ridged texture. Buttons are pretty shallow, not as clicky as other cases. And again, it feels very plasticky, especially around the camera plateau. Opening is fine on the bottom, but there's also no camera control button. It's still a camera control cutout, even a full year later. Unfortunately, I would not recommend the Keyway case this year. Now, where Keyway really shines is various designs on the back of their case. And so on their website, you can peruse lots of cool designs. They have specific artist-driven designs, really cool. So if you want just a unique design, a case that not everybody has, Keyway is great for that. But if you're looking for a great leather case, I don't think I can recommend Keyway this year. Instead, might I recommend my own leather case? This is the Hunter Green from Andar. Now, I'm not going to give it any passes, but let's just go through it. It has the camera control button, nice metal buttons for the sleep, action, and volume. Does have the metal camera ring, and I'll do my little scratch test in a moment. Really nice grained leather, feels great, smells great, but let's test out what happens to that camera ring. Like the Ryan London, you are going to start seeing some silver breakthrough if you drop this or that camera ring gets a little scratched, so just keep that in mind. It's pretty discreet. It's not something I think you would see even if you get little nicks here and there, but a big gash, yeah, you're going to see a little silver. Oh, and I forgot to do it to the Nomad one. No, I'm not going to try to return these after I did this. Nomad, you're going to get a similar experience. A little bit of silver shining through that black metal camera ring. But back to the best case color of all time. Hunter Green looks great, especially with the silver, or if you went with an Orange Pro, you can have that Michelangelo look. Buttons are nice and clicky, have great travel. You see the full camera mesa through it, nicely aligned cutouts on the bottom. And I do find the Andar to be a nice mix from a genuine leather feel, feels good in the hand, but doesn't add too much bulk. I do find the Bullstrap adds a little more bulk just around the phone, and if you're getting a Pro Max, you already have a pretty big phone. Here's a close-up of the Andar leather texture. Now you can get the Hunter Green or a variety of other colors, $70, that's the Aspen. I have a special link, and you get a deal, beard.fm/case. Not going to affect my final rating, but you can get it for the 17 Pro, Pro Max, and 16 Pro and Pro Max. No Hunter Green in the Air just yet, so let me know if that's something you'd like to see. And there is a little bit of Andar branding here on that same side as like the Nomad and the Ryan London. Also, if you want a brighter leather color, I have to shout out Technically T. This is his case for the 16 Pro, but his blue and red color look really cool. That's the TechWave blue for the Aspen and the Technically red. Definitely 2 of the 3 best colors that you can get from Andar. Next up, another leather case that decided to close off that camera plateau a little bit. This is the Decoded leather case. Decoded puts the branding here on the back rather than the side, but we do have a camera control button, nice metal button feel for the sleep, action, and volume. Metal camera ring here, closed bottom of course. The Decoded one, like the Andar, feels a little thinner than the other leather cases, and as you can see, that camera plateau, they really went all out, covering everything but the actual camera lenses. That's even different than the Bullstrap, who at least left the open rounded square for those lenses. This one is like just polka dotted here on the left. Here's a close-up of the Decoded leather texture. Decoded, I'm gonna give it credit for maybe the most clicky buttons. These definitely have the most travel. Feels great to click those buttons. Camera control button right there, no problem launching that. Nice hole for the USB-C port. Overall, I think Decoded did a nice job this year, and your preference for this camera plateau, at least Decoded gave you another option. Also is one of the cheaper leather cases at $60, comes in multiple colors. I got the navy shadow, but you can also get black. They also have a clay color. I had a clay Decoded case in the past and I really like that. And you can see the camera plateau is actually a different color on that lighter texture. All right, and finally I got a few cases from Lonli. Lonli makes a few different kinds of leather cases. These two are the classic style, more of a smooth leather, comes in multiple colors, metal camera ring, camera control, nice clicky buttons, honestly. And a unique element of the Lonli, no Lonli branding on the outside of the case. So if you're averse to any branding on your leather case, Lonli might be the way to go. They just have it here on the inside of the case. So these are the classic leather cases, and then they also have this pebbled leather, which they call the Urban series. You can kind of see a close-up of that pebbled texture here. Nice to have a couple options, and these are inexpensive. You can actually get them on Amazon. The classic is about $40. Same with the Urban, and they also have MagSafe wallets to match it. Personally, I would go with the classic leather case. Again, really nice clicky buttons. Kudos on Lonli for that. Metal camera ring. We'll do the scratch test in a moment. Nice access to the USB-C port. I actually prefer these over last year's Lonli cases. I think they've stepped it up in quality. Leather doesn't feel as leathery as the other brands. I would put Ryan London, Bullstrap, and Andar above Lonli when it just comes to leather quality, but they're definitely nice cases. They also sent me the same classic and Urban ones for the iPhone Air. Here's the Urban Lonli leather case on the iPhone Air. You can see that pebble texture a little bit. Buttons on the Air models feel a little shallower than the Pro and Pro Max models, but you still have a camera button here. Camera button's a little harder to press, actually. Just feels like it's a little more mushy than on the Pro cases and the other leather cases I've talked about. But if you have an Air and you want some leather, you can check these out. Let's do a scratch test. I'll do it on the black one here. And like the other ones, you're gonna start seeing that silver come through if you're dropping it or scratching this camera lens. And with the big plateau, that's a lot of area to scratch. Again, I have to hit it pretty hard and scrape it to reveal this much silver, but it does happen. Now, before we get to the final top 3 ranking, I do wanna mention one other brand. I see Grams 28 a lot in Instagram ads. I actually did order a case and there was some shipping issue where it didn't get to me in time. But I reviewed these last year, and like last year, it looks like the sides of the Grams 28 is that plasticky feeling. I did not like that on last year's model, and it seems they've continued with that again. It's not leather all the way around. So like last year, I would probably not recommend these. So when it comes to leather quality, feel, quality of the buttons, and what they did with the camera plateau, these are my top 4. Best leather cases, and some names you recognize, the Bullstrap, Ryan London, Andar, and Nomad. Now, if I had to put them in a top 3, it pains me a little bit to say it, but Ryan London, I think who won first place the last 2 years in a row, I'm actually gonna put in 3rd place. It's still a great and incredibly feeling leather. The buttons feel good. I actually like the closed bottom design, but that camera ring compared to the others like Andar and Nomad, it feels a little more stark, like they selected the text and clicked bold. And my feelings about the camera plateau are already mixed, and I feel like this very thick metal camera ring kind of draws even more attention to it. For that reason alone, I think I'm putting Ryan London in 3rd place. Now, if you go with a black leather, I think that camera ring is gonna disappear a little more, and you can kind of see on the darker Nomad case, the camera ring isn't as visible. But there's just something about the shape of the camera ring, maybe it's a little bit more squared off, where it just feels more prominent. Still a solid leather case in 3rd. For 2nd place, I'm actually gonna give it a tie between Andar and the Bullstrap, and really I think it depends on what your preference is for that camera plateau. Obviously, if you want the best color, well, that's the Hunter Green in Andar. I do like it. The camera ring just seems a little more discreet on the Andar. Great clickable buttons, nice leather feel. Of course, it's my case, so I'm a little partial, but I'm gonna put it in 2nd, just to be sure. And I don't usually go for the open bottom cases. I would probably go with a closed bottom Bullstrap, but I actually like the way that they did this around the camera plateau. If you are more nostalgic for the 16 Pro and earlier camera style Mesa, and the Bull logo on the back doesn't bother you too much, I think Bullstrap is a solid choice. I'm going to give it that tie for number 2. But the buttons are a little more shallow than I would like, and that's why it's not in the first spot. Honorable mention, I'm gonna give it to Decoded. I like the unique take on the camera plateau. Again, it just depends on your preference, whether this is what you wanna go with. But when it comes to general feel of the case, leather quality, clickiness of the buttons, and I do really like that texture, especially on the sleep and action buttons, I think Nomad did a great job this year. Again, I definitely prefer this compared to the modern leather case. Remember, that modern one has plastic on the sides. I've reviewed those in past years. I definitely don't prefer them. I would go with the traditional leather case. Again, I went with the Horween leather. Smells really good. I think the Nomad brings a good balance of thinness of leather case, but also quality of the leather. You do have minimal color choices, but it is super nice. So that's my leather case review for the iPhone 17 lineup. If you have a brand or case that you love and that I didn't mention in this video, let me know down in the comments. Or if there's other cases, maybe non-leather, that you'd like me to check out. I do have some of Apple's tech woven cases, and I have to say, much better than the fine woven of years past. So let me know what you'd like to see down in the comments. Also, I did a review of iPhone Air, I'll leave that here, and AirPods Pro 3. And get subscribed and hit that like button because I have my iPhone 17 Pro Max review coming, and a bunch of shortcuts both for Mac automations, which are new to macOS Tahoe, and more Apple Intelligence shortcuts coming very soon. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.